it's my belief, and we'll get into that, and I think that's the reason why we're even here today, is that there are elements within the United States government that are compromised by, a larger effort to bring the United States into a less sovereign state and ultimately part of, a one world government, or what we might call the New World Order, or the Great Reset.
And I think what's so mind-boggling to me is the number of institutions, federal institutions, that have been infiltrated by these guys, and we can kind of see some of that as we get into this story here.
Right.
So you want to tie that in?
So on November 13th is when that meeting was compromised. On the 21st of November is when I actually had a small gathering of leadership within the state of Florida, and I explained to them the nature of the threat, to which most of them were completely unaware. I mean, at that point, it was Antifa and BLM were like, oh, like they're some kind of like grand army. And I'm like, this is not a battle against Antifa and BLM. This is a battle against, at the time, an insurgency, because the power in control is the counterinsurgency. The power that wants control is the insurgency. I believe that on November 3rd, those roles have now flipped, and patriots are now operating as a counterinsurgency. So I basically gave them a block of instruction on U.S. Special Operations Unconventional Warfare Doctrine, which is unclassified. You can find it on Google. In fact, I have a copy that I got off Google, the Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide, put out by United States Army Special Operations Command, that shows the entire spectrum of an insurgency. Can you see that? And then, so read through that pyramid, and it's gonna blow your mind, because it's not just an accidental happening. This is a long, multi-decade projected assault. So November 21st, we have the meeting, and then December 4th, right, less than 2 weeks after that meeting, I get the visit at my door, of which you have the video of.
Yes, I do. So that brings us full circle till this visit from these two gentlemen here. Let's just start to roll some of this, Jeremy, and when something happens that you want to kind of comment on, then just I'll pause the video and we can kind of go from there, okay?
Perfect.
Here we go.
So look at him. He's looking at my flag because my flag is displayed upside down. For those of you that don't know, an upside down flag is the official symbol of distress.
My name's Brett, Homeland Security. Homeland Security also. We were looking for Jeremy Brown.
He's not here.
No idea. Has he been here recently? The Sanders is on the charge.
He comes and goes.
Okay.
What does it say?
Just 5 minutes, just some online stuff, trying to calm me down. Just about posting things online.
So they're just there to see me about posting some things online. They're looking for me because I posted some things online.
Just a 5 minute deal.
Very well. I'll give him the message.
Are you related to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you my card in case you have given me a call.
And then I think we can clear it up on our end, so we will, we just Hey, good morning. Sorry, everybody's trying to get people.
So the guy he's saying good morning to is me. So kind of a funny story. We were expecting the AC repair guy that morning, and we have about, I'll say an undisclosed amount of security cameras on our property because, running for Congress, we had some issues with stalkers and we had some break-ins and things like that. So there's not much of our property that isn't covered by surveillance cameras, but that's pretty typical what you would expect on a piece of property owned by a former Green Beret, right? So our SOP is do not answer the door for anybody that we don't know. Now, we needed the AC guy to come out, and he said, hey, I'll be there at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So that's about the time. I think it was about 7:40 if you look at the timestamp when they come. So my girlfriend, by accident, just kind of assumed that it was the AC guy. And so before checking the camera, she just woke me up and said, hey, the AC guy's here. So I'm like, all right, I'm groggy. I get up out of bed because I'm a little bit of a late riser, but I stay up late at night. So I stumbled to the door in a Special Forces T-shirt that I grabbed, first thing I grabbed. And now I'm standing there facing two federal agents that are looking for me. And of course, in perfect interrogation fashion, I just said nothing, and they didn't ask. So we sit there and have a conversation. They basically tell us everything, and I just sit there and look at them. So you can go ahead.
Just give me a call if you talk to them. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. His address is on his driver's license.
So as they walk away, you'll look, and they'll look at each other and go, that was him.
Hey, what's going on?
All right, so that was the video portion of that visit, and obviously that's showing that they were at your front porch. Now there's some audio here. You want to kind of preface this audio that we're about to dive into here?
Yeah. So initially, what he handed me there in the video was a literally printed out on printer paper business card. So as I'm standing there, I'm looking, they parked separately on either end of my property, but they're not in standard government cars. So I immediately start to think these guys are not legitimate agents. Okay. Maybe they're Antifa BLM harassers that are basically casing our property for future harassment ops. So I'm immediately skeptical. And so I start to do a little bit of research. I reach out to a couple of friends, and they run the names. They run they do a little background, right? And they pop up a very benign LinkedIn page. So I wait a little wait. Well, as I'm waiting, I get a phone call from the agent. So they've got my cell phone. Now, it's not like they looked in the phone book and got my cell phone. It's not like my cell phone was widely known. It wasn't on any of my campaign literature or anything like that. So I wait for the voicemail. I listen to the voicemail again. It's the agent saying he just wanted to talk to me for just a few minutes. It's no big deal. So I wait probably a couple of hours, and then I email the email address on the business card, and I do get a response from a government domain name. I check the address, I check the phone number, and it does match up with the FBI field office here in Tampa. So at that time, I believed that they were legit. So I started an email conversation back and forth and basically said, hey, what's the topic of conversation? Because that's going to determine whether we need to have a beer or I need to have a lawyer. So we go back a little bit. He was a little bit reluctant at first to tell me the topic of the meeting, but basically he said it was about some things I had posted online. And the funny thing is that after the election on November 3rd, I deleted my Twitter account. I only had Parler. That was not a Parler associated with my political campaign. It was brand new. I just opened it up. And so I maybe had 20, 25, 50 followers max, right? Really, I used it primarily to receive information, not so much to talk. And so I said, hey, I'll meet with you, but we're going to meet in a public place and I'm going to record it. So he agreed to that. And so on December 11th is where you're going to hear the recording where I actually, I kind of set up a decoy mic to make that look like a recording device, but it was just a microphone that I had. And then I had an old school tape recorder, the little mini tape recorders like we used to have. And I set that on a disc, but the audio that you're actually hearing is from my cell phone that I had in my pocket. So we met in an open air portion of Ybor City, and that's what you're about to hear. And you'll notice as we start out, it's all very cordial and everything, but within 38 seconds of the meeting starting, I say, he introduces himself from FBI JTTF, and you'll hear him say, I said, yeah, I've worked with JTTF in the past. And they'll say, well, you might be in the future. Let's see how this goes. Right then, 38 seconds into the meeting, I knew, because Special Forces gets most of their intelligence or their target information from human intelligence networks. We're not tier one guys. We don't have huge SIGINT. I mean, we do get SIGINT information when needed, but that doesn't drive our operations. Our operations are driven by human intelligence, meaning we're out there in the communities building intelligence networks on the ground. And so I've been in personal meets. I know how they're set up. I know how they're supposed to run. And what you're about to witness is an FBI personal meet with the sole intention of creating an excuse to meet with me, to recruit me to be a confidential informant. And that becomes obvious to me 38 seconds into the interview, and then the pitch comes near the end, which we'll get to. So if you want to start at it, and I'll stop you whenever I hear something cool.
Yeah, there's some key points in here, and we'll talk about those as they come. So here we go, folks.
Guys, how are you? Well, I'm normally in bed by now, but
oh, you work at night?
No, I'm just a night owl. What's going on, guys?
Let's see, buddy. I'm Brett. This is Paul.
All right, well, you don't mind if I pull out my recorder, do you?
What do you gotta do?
All right, I don't want to get General Flended. Okay.
We're with Homeland Security, but we work on JTTF with FBI.
Okay, I noticed that.
Yeah. So it's no big deal. We decided to come out.
I've worked with JTTF before, so I'm familiar.
You might in the future too.
So see, there you have it. Well, you might in the future. So see, that's the subtle pitch. Now, something else I want you to kind of listen to as the conversation goes. If you remember the leaked interview of the postal worker, was it? I don't know if it was Detroit or Chicago or whatever, where he recorded his FBI interview. Listen to how many times they reassure you, oh, this is no big deal. You know, we all have the same political, you know, whatever. It's kind of the good cop mentality, because the intent is to hopefully get you into this, what we call in interrogations, a soft sell, right? Oh, would you like a sandwich? Would you like this? Oh,
well, and I can tell, I can feel a real air of, oh, we're on your side somehow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course. And you'll hear that. I even laugh at them when, later on. But if you want to go home, you can go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick. Another reason I paused it right there is if anyone in the audience isn't familiar with the JTTF, what does that stand for?
The FBI's JTTF is the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And later in the interview, you'll hear him mention that there is an international branch, which would be who I've worked with in Afghanistan and other places in the world. But then there's also a domestic branch, which he'll admit later in this interview that they've got about 60 agents just in Tampa that work that branch.
We'll see how this goes. But like I was saying, this is no big deal. We just had to touch base with you. We just got some reporting about some comments that you made about Civil War.
All right, right there.
Like what kind of comment?
So he says, we've got some reporting. All right. Now, in our world, reporting is, from assets or whatever, right? So he's about to get into where that reporting comes from, which is very, very key. But the tweet that he's referring to was actually posted on April 23rd of 2020 and mentioned nothing about Civil War at all. It was simply an attempt by me to link up with other people that have served in special operations or are currently in special operations with an intent to have lines of communications knowing that things were getting bad. Remember, this is in April. Now, this is when we started having the lockdowns and all that other stuff. So that's the tweet that he's referencing from let's see, it was about, I think, 8 months prior to this meeting. So,
like what kind of comment would make the DHS show up at my door on 7 o'clock, or it was almost 8 o'clock, 7:40, I think is what it said.
It's early. Yeah, just some comments about trying to recruit people for a civil war.
Do you have those comments with you?
I do not.
Okay.
So
So then where did you get that report
I'm
from?
asking the question. Yeah.
Okay. Because I have the actual
I'm
tweet
sure, yeah.
if you want to look at it.
Exactly. And the way it works, I don't know if you know this, Facebook and Twitter both push stuff down.
Oh,
You
man.
have to come look at it.
And we
Right
do this
there.
all day.
He says, the way it works, hey man, the way it works is Facebook and Twitter are directly pushing stuff to the federal government, law enforcement agencies, and terrorism task forces, and they're following up on it as if totally legit, as if it's their own collection assets reporting to them.
As we also know now, Bank of America followed suit after the January 6th. So there's these multinational corporations, big tech, if you will. Man, and we used to be scared of Big Brother, and I've heard people say this is Big Other. But let's continue here. This is good.
But real quick now, he didn't say they provide it to us, right? Provide would mean the FBI or whoever asked them, we need information on Jeremy Brown. No, he says they push it to us. Now, when I say they're pushing it down on us, I'm saying that it's automatic. They get it, and then it comes right into their inbox, and they follow it up just as if my intel network in Iraq or Afghanistan or Colombia or Malaysia or whatever came to me with some actionable intelligence, and now I kit my guys up and we roll out the gate.
Honestly,
You're like one in the queue.
So
for today.
Facebook and Twitter directly push information to you.
But both sides. So we have the far right, we have the far left.
All right.
Just
You're right there.
First Amendment, Second Amendment. You're
The reassurance is there. Oh, don't worry. We do this to the left as well. First of all, he says whether you're far right or far left. So he's implicating me as being far right. So yeah, and then reassuring me that, oh, don't worry, we're not only violating your privacy and your First Amendment, we're also violating theirs. But then you'll hear, they'll reassure me that, oh, you're free to say whatever you want. You're free to say whatever you want. We're just going to come to your door on a early Friday morning, wake you up out of bed, scare the shit out of your girlfriends, and then make you have to have a personal meet to explain yourself.
Unreal. Let's continue.
you have right to say whatever you want.
Your ideology, your right to do whatever.
Right.
We do both sides equally. Just so you know, we're not.
I just find it interesting that with everything going on right now, you guys are two agents, which are probably making way more than I am, are sitting here.
Well, it's our job.
Trust me, we've had to fill out a couple of these, and I think it's the political climate right now. Obviously, it's just everything's up in the air. Obviously, we our political leaning is. A lot of people aren't happy. So,
Stop right there.
I don't.
so
Well,
Right. He says, obviously, you know what our political leanings are. No, I don't know what you're. I don't know.
Can you tell people how their political leanings would be relevant to DHS? I mean,
They shouldn't be. And if they had the same political leanings in me, why would they have the tasking, right? I'm not going to have, a BLM supporting police officer go to police the BLM riot. I'm going to have the opposite because they're going to be more attuned to infractions and not sympathetic to them. So, but this is just a good guy, a soft sell tactic to, we're on your side. You can be comfortable with us, blah, blah. Now, again, I want to reiterate, 38 seconds into this, I knew what this was. This has nothing to do with what I said online, okay? And this will get pointed out later because they didn't even bring the right evidence to correlate their story. This was nothing more than an excuse to sit down with me in private and offer me the opportunity for money to help them.
if you would have pulled up the actual tweet, you would have found that there's no mention of that. So I apologize, but Twitter and Facebook have wasted government time.
Just trust us. This is not the first time we've gone out. We've gone all the way to Spring Hill, the same thing. People put stuff on their cars, do stupid stuff. It's just the political climate right now.
Right.
We just have to come out and talk with you, make sure you're okay. I can tell right now you're fine.
Right.
Like you're a good guy. You came out, you met up, you write well. So as long as you're not out to hurt anybody, you don't want to hurt
Did
yourself.
you just say I write well?
Yes.
Oh. You mean from the emails?
Yeah. You
Well, I was a U.S. congressional candidate,
Yeah.
so I don't work at 7-Eleven. Not that there's anything wrong.
Nothing with.
Now, Brandon, disclaimer.
I just want to make sure.
I love the people that work at 7-Eleven near my house. So that was not a jab at them.
I heard the clarification. Yeah, we need them too, right? Here we go.
Whatever the outcome is in January, your online presence or anything that you do, you don't want to hurt yourself or you don't want to hurt anybody. And if we get that warm and fuzzy that you're good, like you're upset, either way it happens, and we don't care which way you lean.
Right.
But we just want to make sure that you're not targeting anybody and nobody's going to get hurt over the outcome in January. And again, you'll never see us again, and this can be closed on our side. Just making sure that you're okay. And everybody's upset in different ways, and that's not why we're here. Just making sure that you don't want to hurt yourself or hurt anybody else.
Well, trust me, if I wanted to hurt somebody, they'd already be hurt. But there's actually
This meeting took place on December 9th. Now, I don't know if you heard him mention if things don't go right in January. Now, I didn't really pick up on it until I was going back through it last night, listening to it. I'm like, why would he and I know you could say, oh, well, he's referring to the inauguration. Well, at that time, there were still legal cases going on. Like, there was nothing set in stone. So how would the action, why would they allude to the action being in January? And so when you look at this as kind of the grander scheme, and you hear reports of that, you know, the FBI had foreknowledge of what happened on January 6th, or maybe they were in on it, or all this other stuff, it starts to kind of come together when you look at the Judge Napolitano report that was posted a couple days ago on American Journal from years ago, showing that of the 17 FBI terror plots that were busted up, all 17 were planned and directed by the FBI themselves. So there is a catalog or a catalog history of FBI setting up these things and then, you know, using them and busting them and things like that. So was that what happened on January 6th? I personally believe that there was involvement because, again, I believe that this is a coordinated insurgency against the United States for reasons that, you know, that we all know. Like there is an effort to bring everybody under this great reset, one world government, no more national sovereignty, so on and so forth. And so, you know, it'd be very easy to get a guy like me to immediately have instant credibility within the organization, like Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, 3%ers, or whatever organization they plan on taking down. And I think when you look at the media coordination, the character assassination of these organizations that have no history of violence or doing anything other than helping people out, mostly almost always in a volunteer effort, I think you can start to kind of make the case that, you know, why mention something happening in January on December 9th when the president didn't even tweet about the January 6th rally until December 19th. So a full 10 days prior.
Wow, now that is interesting because you want to talk about ominous or, you know, some foresight. It does make you wonder when you hear him talk about January all the way back in December.
Correct.
So, all right, let's continue.
History of false claims made by my ex-wife. In fact, I've recently lost visitation with my 5 daughters over bullshit like this.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And so, while I do find it kind of interesting that y'all stated that it was Twitter and Facebook, I'm more suspicious that it was another false report by her.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've had 2 restraining orders filed against me. I've had my guns taken. It's cost me $50,000 in legal bills, which is exactly what I mentioned.
And there's some of it here,
Uh-huh.
pieces
Stuff
of it.
like that.
So
And I read it. I wasn't concerned about it, but we're just required, just because of the climate right now, to come out and talk to you.
Right.
Again, we all know about a scoring wife. We know about a scoring woman.
Yeah.
I have an
And
ex-wife, so
and
I'm
the BS that comes with that, and that's all we're here.
Right.
We check the box. And we're like,
See more of that. We're on your side. I know about a scorned wife. Blah
Yeah,
blah.
no, we know all about it. We've all blah blah blah, this and that. And to be honest with you, at this point, I'm kind of doing the same thing to them right now. Do I think that it was my ex-wife? No, I think this has to do with a concerted. Because look, here's the bottom line: you recruit people that have a weakness. That's why financial issues are the number one reason why service members have their top secret clearances either revoked or declined. Okay, why? Because you're a target, right? If you've got a history of bad divorces because of infidelity, you're a target. If you're a known pedophile, you're a target. Why? Because those are weaknesses that can be leveraged against you at a later date. So, you know, I'm like Captain Fantastic. Okay, I want to get on my RV and sit in the woods and you know, like Mike Glover's mug. One time I was watching an episode. It said, I like my cabin and maybe 3 people. Right, that's the life I want. Okay, but so I'm not a wealthy man. I don't have a lot of resources, and so in an analysis of, you know, is this person targetable? Those are some things that you look at. And I have no doubt that a quick scan of my bank records and financial history, they'd be able to say, this guy is totally weak. So money is, you know, his soft spot. And, you know, like
They're about to get into here.
Like I've always said, you can get anything in the world with 3 things: booze, sex, and donuts, because money is a given. All right. So, I definitely think it was. So at this point, I'm trying to make them think that, oh, I'm not suspicious of you guys. This is definitely my ex-wife. So just so they kind of.
to the next guy.
Okay.
I'm not concerned. Like I said, the communication on the phone would have been enough for me, but I just need to put eyes on you.
Right.
Make sure, you know, that I can sit and write it up and say, hey, listen.
So y'all didn't have anything to do with the woman that was outside of my house this morning with a SLR taking photographs?
I can tell you.
Honestly, we didn't know if that was your house because we lived
both
there.
of those people said they didn't know you. We weren't related to you.
Yeah,
Well, one of those people was me.
Right.
Oh.
I know. Well, then I was telling
Then
her,
why didn't you say?
Well, because we don't want to get it. If you want everybody to take their own little steps.
So,
But for her to say they're here for Jeremy and you to look at her and we know who you are, and we're like, this is how it wants to go down. It's how it goes down.
no, see, one,
Right.
as a Trump supporter, I'm already on multiple Antifa BLM lists. I've already looked them up myself, okay? You know, look, I'm a retired SF guy. If I was you guys, I would have parked further away, okay? That's just how you do on personal meets. So, you know, we've had, when I ran for Congress here in this district,
Right.
since then, I've had all kinds of fucking harassment and bullshit, which I'm fine with.
Right.
I got 14 cameras on our property because of the bullshit we've had to put up with, which that's fine. So I just wanted to make sure that this isn't I kind of think this is comical. My girlfriend is like scared to death.
Okay.
She thinks I'm not coming back.
Right. Well, here's the deal. You can see the level, and again, not that you're not for it, but you see the level of us just leaving and want to meet you on your own time.
Right.
If this was a criminal matter and we thought in any way, like, the time's ticking and it's sensitive, you could have told us you want to meet next week, after Christmas.
Right.
We don't care. We just have a job right now
No,
with the JTTF. They say, this is on the radar, and we are able to, at our level, this is off the radar.
And the whole
That's all we
election,
are.
the election has a lot of people spun up. I mean, we had a stand-up command post.
I'm hoping that y'all are more spun up than you seem to be.
But so we did work the election week, and so that's, you know, honestly, this probably wouldn't be a concern if it wasn't around the election. So I have no issue with just going.
Well, those comments weren't around the election, were they?
No, not that I saw.
Because I got rid of Twitter.
Yeah.
So I thought it was kind of comical that now that I no longer have it.
So
we're
I wouldn't worry about
investigating these comments around the election that had nothing to do with the election. My question is, how many of these people that were caught on videotape bringing in ballots, trucking in ballots, vanning in ballots at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. How many of them have had these types of visits from the FBI? I would suspect there probably hasn't been any. At least that's what people have said. That the FBI, the people that have signed affidavits saying I witnessed election fraud, saying we haven't even been interviewed by the FBI. So it's kind of funny.
It's very funny. Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
Do you mind if I see which tweets you're referencing?
Well,
Obviously, you printed a couple out.
That I printed out.
I mean, I am a relatively vocal guy.
Right. You can be as vocal as you want.
Hey, you guys
You can be as vocal as you want, Brandon.
These
We're
all
just
got printed out
here to
for
visit you.
just so that I had these for reference.
Because we don't even know, like I said, these groups or different things. And Jeremy, this is even more to the point. Well,
This doesn't even mention it.
I
This
know,
doesn't even mention it. This is poker. This is poker analogy.
This is even more.
So Brandon, let me explain to you
Yes, look.
the tweet. And actually, it was on. I think it was on Parler, because I think it was November 3rd. Literally the night of the election, I was so sick of Twitter that I deleted it that night. It was. I don't know how many of you out there play Texas Hold'em, but it was a Texas Hold'em deal, all right, with the cards turned up, and one hand is an ace and an 8, which anybody that's played poker would know that that's the dead man's hand. And then the other hand was suited ace king, and then the board came out with a flush, a royal flush with aces and 8 as your turn and your river card. And the tweet, this is literally what the tweet said: the deep state has gone all in with aces and 8s, and Trump has called their bluff with the nut royal flush. Now, please explain to me how you get civil war out of that tweet.
Well, you're obviously a thought criminal is the real problem here. So we're going to have our future crime division.
I'm waiting for my freedom bracelet.
Man, I'll tell you. So yeah, let's check this out here. Here we go.
You being a former guy or whatever, you hearing stuff or you being around your group and someone's like, hey, we're training tonight and tomorrow some shit's going to go down. You calling us and letting us know and we can prevent the next big thing.
Oh, you have
great. So
right here.
We're here to clear your name.
So I don't know if you heard him, but what he said is, you being a former guy or whatever, if you hear any stuff like we're training tonight, call us and let us know. So there's the beginning of the pitch right there. Okay. 1, hey man, you're important. You have access and placement. You have the skills that we need to prevent the next big thing. And now is where you're going to hear, they're going to start slowly, gradually mentioning money and, hey, we just want to, prevent something big from happening. You mean like,
here's what I'm curious about. Nothing big had ever happened except for the riots that we saw from, the political left during the summer.
I did try to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer.
Well, yeah. I guess that if you want to count that, but this was before the big insurgents. So what really are these guys even talking about, do you think?
Well, the only thing that had happened was, $2 billion worth of damage in every major blue city across the country by pronounced Marxist-led groups like BLM. And listen to me, to everybody out there, I love all of you, okay? I hate the mind-numbed conservatives as much as I hate the mind-numbed leftists, because we're all in the matrix right now. We're all being told lies. I mean, look at the revealing of Fox as controlled opposition. Look at the revealing of Newsmax as controlled opposition. Hell, Right Side Broadcasting just cut off Mike Lindell because he almost said, don't take the vaccine because it could be dangerous. And maybe you'll cut out that clip that I just said. But the reality is, the entire nation has been given over to delusion, and no one is thinking and questioning you should be questioning everything that you're hearing from everybody, okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, psychological weapons, and that's what COVID is. COVID is a psychological biological weapon against the United States to implement these control mechanisms, and they're using disinformation, and disinformation in the form of censorship is the lie of omission, right? They're leaving out key information. They're cutting you off from information. Like, why aren't we free to decide? But I'm going to tell you, the best lies are 95% true. That's why the QAnon thing was so effective, which far back, I have a Media Matters article written about me as one of the congressional candidates that follows QAnon. I follow everything. I watch CNN, I watch MSNBC, because that's what open source analysis is. You can't know what's being said if you're not listening to it. But the key is to constantly analyze and look for that 5%. Again, the best lies are 95% true. You have to find the 5%, because if you're walking in a straight line azimuth and you're off by just 1 degree, you're not going to get to where you want to go. And the truth is the same way. If you can't identify and separate that 5%, you're going to be that Fox News conservative that doesn't speak out against certain things. And a perfect example is about the Sky News reporter that they want to now fire. He spoke too much truth, but I thought that they were a news outlet. News should be about information and allowing the public to decide on their own, but that's not what it is. The news media is the psychological weapon being used against the American people.
And we're also here if you want to work with us in the future and you hear stuff in your circles that bothers us, and not ex-wife, your stuff, like, because we can't get involved in civil matters, but if you hear of a pending, imminent situation in Tampa, we'd love to hear from you. And if we can, and again, I can't make any promises, but like, if you provide information that prevents something big, the government pays for that. The government, we would love
Right
to
there.
I know
prevent
how
something.
I can't make any promises. Look, you should never make promises. Hell, when I go into an Iraqi or Afghan village and I say, hey, what do you need from us? And they say, well, we need a new school. We need to know what. Well, I can't make any promises, but I'll see what I can do, right? That's the pitch right there. I can't make any promises, but if you provide us information on something big, the government will pay you as if I need the money, okay? Look, the best thing Americans can do right now is learn to live poor, because the number one reason given for why people aren't taking off their masks, aren't standing up against this medical tyranny, this psychological attack, this biological attack against us is, I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose my pension. I mean, cops beating American citizens and telling me under their breath, hey man, I know this is fucked up. Guys, just go. No, we're not going to go. But they continue to beat other American citizens, knowing it's wrong, saying it's wrong. Why? Because they don't want to lose their pension. And that's the problem. See, that's how this whole Federal Reserve debt slavery works. We're enslaved by 3 things: our need for our jobs, our phones, and the mask.
Well, and the big thing right there that people need to realize is you were talking with these DHS officers, and they just basically said, hey, look, if you come out against any of these groups, or if you hear about something big happening, the government pays for that. I mean, that's big.
Right.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And I don't want to overwhelm you, and I don't want to say we get your fingerprint picture and sign you up today, but we think that we can help you, you can help us, and we can definitely, on this side of things, less aggravation. The person who's 100% tell you it's nothing to do with ours.
He just told me, I mean, we don't have to get you fingerprinted and picture taken and sign up today, but you could help us, we could help you. And what did he say? On your side, less aggravation. What the hell does that mean? So you're going to be aggravated, but if you work with us, it'll be less aggravation. I mean, it's literally clown world, okay? And I don't know. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't hold anything against these guys. Again, everyone is in this. I'm just doing my job. It doesn't matter. It's like people have like logged off the common sense. People have logged off their the American rugged individualism because, hey, I'm just doing what I'm told, man. Just like the Nazis, right? Just like the guy says, the author, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I think it's in the Gulag Archipelago, where he says, would they have been able to do this if people would have just stood up? And the answer is no. Look at these videos over in the UK of people being arrested for out walking in their mask, and there's people standing all around with their phones videoing it, watching their fellow countrymen be rounded up by mostly female officers, which is another psychological tool, right? If you look at these videos, it's mostly females. Why? I believe it's because they know a man is less likely to resist a female officer because most men don't want to fight a woman unless they're they're wanting to win wrestling championships in Texas.
Yeah, it's the same reason that Bill Gates wears a pink sweater.
That's exactly right. I mean, look, we receive training on propaganda, and the reason is because it's the most powerful tool in any army's arsenal. It's the most powerful weapon. To control, if you control the mind, you control the body, okay? In the physical realm, if I grab your hair, I can throw you to the ground. Control the head, control the body, not just physically, but also psychologically and mentally. If you can win the hearts and minds of the populace, you can overthrow a dictatorship. And that's exactly the specialty of the U.S. Army Green Berets. And that's why John F. Kennedy solidified us as the proponency for unconventional warfare, because he knew so much about this that they blew his brains out, but he stood up the United States Special Forces Army Green Berets as the sole proponency for unconventional warfare in the DOD, okay? And I think if you look around, you don't see a bunch of Green Berets out there in the Oath Keepers or the 3%ers or in any of these groups. You might have a little smattering in the Special Forces Association that want to focus on golf tournaments to raise money to send their kids to be brainwashed in these leftist colleges. But most of us are out there. We don't want to be involved, but it's going to come a time where we have no choice but to be involved, because we are sworn to protect the people of this country and the Constitution, not the criminal, corrupt government establishment that has been compromised by foreign nations that are under the control of global elite technocrats.
And hopefully it's secure your SBI. So that's why we're here.
Right.
You got the number. We're 24/7.
Okay.
And like I said, we weren't concerned, but like we just got in order to close out this lead. We just got to sit down with you. Say it's fine. I knew it from the second I was emailing you that you were a normal person.
Right.
Yeah, that it was bullshit. So that's where it is. That's where we're at. If you have something, call my desk. I'll talk to you about it. Especially if it's something that's going on in Tampa. I mean, we're all of it. We're in the domestic side, so anything domestic terrorism.
Yeah. There's international and domestic.
Right.
So anything. I mean, 3 or 4 counties around here, we take care of it.
Okay.
All right. So I appreciate you coming out. And I know it's kind of pain in the ass.
And again, I like to tell you, you're one of 19 people that were going to knock on the door and say they're not home or they are home. And we're like,
one of 19 people. These two guys, not the 58 other agents that he's about to explain that there's 60 of them in Tampa. But I'm just one of 19.
Talk at some point, because we can't close this out until this actual interview occurs.
Right. Well, I'll apologize for my girlfriend. We were expecting the AC guy. And she's a horrible liar.
Yeah. If I knew more about, I'm like, are you related? She's like, no.
She's not allowed. I tell her, because look, here's the bottom line. She's just a pharmaceutical rep. She's scared to death. Right. All right. She knows what's going on because I tell her what's
all
going
that history.
on. Right. I mean, I'm triple retired. Retired from the military, retired as a business owner, and I retired as a politician. So I'm like a stay-at-home boyfriend. I sit at home. I conduct open source analysis all day long to try to track what's going on. 90% of it is bullshit, but like I tell people all the time, You have to take observations, not conclusions. Listen for what is the observation in the statement, not what that jackass thinks it means, right? And then you got to put together your own picture. I mean, I'm concerned. I've got 5 daughters that are in St. Louis. I don't have much control over what they're exposed to or their safety if something happens. You know, St. Louis isn't the safest place in the world.
Right.
Thank God you're in Tampa, right? Where the cops actually try to arrest the losers. And so she, I've told her, don't ever answer the door for anybody. I mean, and we've got cameras up and everything, but because you guys came right when we were expecting the AC guy, she automatically assumed that you're the AC guy and came in and said, hey, the AC guy's here. So then I come to the door and then you guys are standing there.
Yeah, I'm like, that really looked like it. We're holding your picture up. I'm like, well,
hey, you don't ask a question, you don't get an answer.
We only came early because it usually catch people that go to work.
But I am concerned about one thing.
Yeah.
One, why do they give you shitty cards?
What do you think I'm driving?
You guys are cards.
Oh, cards.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Yeah. Well, I saw you looking at that pretty hard. We do a lot of things different, and just to be truthful with you,
you guys deserve better cards.
I write hand personal notes, and people are like, oh my gosh, there's 2 fake agents out here, and we'll get called, and we've got an appointment this afternoon just to confirm, because I wrote on a note my name and who I work for, and the attorney doesn't believe we're federal agents, but it gets a lot of callback. It gets a lot of.
Well, yeah, when you hand somebody a card like that, I'm like,
paper. I don't have any. I don't know. Hey, I don't know. I'm sure you're aware we're in a continuing resolution. We have no money. We can't get car washes.
We do things a little different.
We have no money.
Yeah, I'm like, he's in an old Ford Fusion.
Yeah, I'm getting a new car though next week. So.
He is. That's a Homeland Security. I got a blue pickup truck.
I know. I saw it over there.
Yeah. No, I'm just
Look,
saying.
I did all my SDRs. Okay, I don't walk into ambushes, all right, without at least knowing.
I think like if it was going down, we would not left that day. Like
I know.
If there's a level, and I don't want to make light of this, but if there's a level of 1 to 10, we're like at a 0.
Right.
This clears up what we do, and this makes you. Because when he says normal, I don't want to use that loosely. We got people that live in driveways. We got people that live in parks. We got those people that are making claims that they're going to blow shit up.
And they make a lot more.
But I'm saying again, you're not that guy. We can definitely document that, memorialize it in a report. You go on about your.
You're not that guy, but
here we are.
Our scope is so wide. Our net is so wide that we're going to come see you two at your house. Do you know what I mean?
No, but remember, Brandon, this wasn't about the stuff I said. This was about getting a Green Beret, decorated combat vet with credibility that could walk in to any patriot group and have instant credibility. That's what this was about, okay? So I want your listeners and your viewers to understand that and that's the point of me asking for the tweet. I wanted to see what they actually had. And again, they presented a totally irrelevant tweet because it wasn't about the tweet. They didn't even take the time to pull up the actual tweet they were referencing because that wasn't what it was about. It was about the excuse to get me in front of them and dangle money in front of me to sell out American patriots who want nothing more than to live free with their families, go out to dinner from time to time, maybe run their business and not be shut down by tyrants, which, again, keep in mind, I bet these guys were never furloughed during the lockdowns.